Would you be the jerk for telling only one of your kids that you're proud of them? We'll get to that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for telling my little stepsister I didn't make any vows to her? My dad got remarried when I, 16-year-old female, was 9. My stepsister, 9-year-old female, was 2 at the time. My mom died and her dad bailed on her mom when she was pregnant with her and was never in her life and never paid child support or anything. When my dad and his wife married, they wanted to do a family unity ceremony, which meant me and my stepsister would be standing there while vows were made to us, and then, as the kid who could speak, would make a vow to always be there for her, to love her and be her big sister. I passed on that. My dad was upset. His wife was even more upset because she wanted the video to show her daughter one day of me making those vows to her and holding her. The ceremony happened, they made the vows to us while I was sitting, and she was being held by her mom. But I didn't make any vows. There has been an expectation set that even though I didn't say the vows, that I would be the big sister my dad's wife wanted for her daughter. The vows she wrote for me say things like, I'll always do your hair when you ask, have makeovers whenever possible, take you to the park, play dolls and climb trees with you, snuggle on the couch and always make space for you in my bed. And that's not even the whole list of what she promised for me. But she did expect that stuff and was disappointed when I didn't. Dad pushed sometimes, but not all of the time, which I get, since he probably did want more cohesion from us, and for me to make an effort to try and love her and be a sister for her. Around the age of 5, my stepsister started to get a bit more demanding with that stuff thanks to her mom and my dad a bit. She always wanted me to take her places, or always wanted to tag along with me, was always coming into my room, etc. It got annoying, and when I would play with her or watch a movie with her, she never wanted it to end. She'd cry and whine, and her mom would try to keep me going when I say I would need to do my own stuff now. Dad sometimes intervened, but not always. A few nights ago, she came into my room when I was FaceTiming my aunt and said I needed to do her hair the way I did mine at night. She got into my laptop screen and tried to end the call. I had to do it myself, and then when I told her I wasn't doing it for her, after that, she said I made vows to be her sister and was being mean by not. I told her I made no vows. She said I did and her mom showed me them. I said Mom wrote those and I never said them. She told me that wasn't true. I called her mom in and told her she needed to stop lying and tell her the truth. Dad came in and told my stepsister the 3 of them needed to talk. My stepsister was so upset by what I said, and when it was confirmed, she ran off crying to her room saying I don't love her. Dad asked me if I could console her and assure her I do love her, and I said I couldn't do that. So he went to comfort her, but his wife said I was a jerk and should have played along to spare her daughter's feelings. Am I the jerk? Honestly, I think OP's not the jerk. I think this is a role that they didn't have to ever fulfill. It wasn't their responsibility, and pretty clearly they're trying to be forced into it. I get them as parents want both kids to be bonded and cohesive, but I don't think your success rate is going to be too high when you try to force one kid to commit to it when you never gave them the chance to commit to it themselves. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for blowing up at my uncle for coming out as trans? The title is very, but there's a good explanation. My uncle, 64, has been married for 42 years and has 4 kids. Her and her wife have been separated for a few months but are still trying to sort out their differences. Every year around March, the whole family holds a sort of spring banquet. Due to their separation, my uncle and her wife arrived, well, separately. My uncle's wife arrived first with the kids. Not long after, my uncle showed up. She was wearing a full face of makeup and a dress. At first, everyone thought it was some kind of joke and started laughing, but soon realized it wasn't. When we sat down for dinner, she fully came out and said she identified as woman now. My uncle's wife almost immediately burst into tears and left the room. Her eldest went after her while the rest of us stared at my uncle in shock. Now, here's where it gets interesting. My uncle has expressed not feeling like a man to some of the family, including me. It was why we pushed for her to get a divorce. When they got separated, we thought my uncle had finally told her, given to find out, she did not. Back to the dinner table, my uncle's wife and son had run out and the youngest was in hysterics, so I lashed out. It wasn't the smartest thing to do looking back, but I told her she was a selfish piece of crap, and if she thought anyone was proud, she'd been snorting too much coke. She left immediately. A few days ago, my mother called me and said I'd taken it too far and that my uncle wasn't responding to anyone's calls or texts. I know I was a bit harsh, but it wasn't the right time or place to reveal that, especially when she hadn't told her wife and kids. For everyone to know something like this was up, except for her, I honestly feel terrible for my uncle's wife. This is a 64-year-old uncle we're talking about. To come out that way after so long? I love my uncle. My uncle was the first person to teach me how to ride a bike, drive, but this is just... I think I could have been more sensitive, so am I the jerk? While I do agree that OP's response probably could have been a little bit more tactful, I do agree with the general sentiment of it where if you're gonna do this, maybe open up about it a little bit to your wife and kids or former wife. It's definitely sad to think that they went through a whole divorce without this ever even being disclosed. This next story is, am I the jerk for making our home into a no-religion space and including my mother in the rules? My 27-year-old female, girlfriend, 32-year-old female, finally moved in together after dating for 3 years due to money troubles keeping us in separate roommate situations. We're very excited to make our apartment into our own space, since for both of us, this is the first home we've had without sharing with anyone else. My mother and my late father is rabidly Catholic. I was raised Catholic growing up, church every Sunday, praying before every meal and snack, blah blah blah. I refused to do confirmation, which enraged my mother, but she backed off after the priest told her that was my right. She didn't approve of me being bi, which is weird. She surprisingly is okay with gay people, and still dragged me to church hoping I'd grow out of it. Long story short, I moved out at 18 and have kept a respectfully distant relationship with her. She's mellowed a bit in her age, but she still tries to invite me to church every week, even after I told her plainly to cut that out. She's respectful to my girlfriend, mostly because I'll choose her over my mother if it comes to that, and it nearly did when she accused my girlfriend of being a predator when we met due to our age gap. My girlfriend has an even more traumatic past with religion. When she was outed at 12, her parents abused her until she was 18, then disowned her, the entire time using Bible quotes and God's mission as an excuse. She still believes in a God, just not in religion or worship, which I respect. With all our trauma about religion, we decided to make the place into a no-religion space. That means no praying, no religious symbols of any kind, no proselytizing, no talking about religious settings. My mother hates that because all her friends are churchgoers and 80% of her stories relate to something happening in church. She also gets mad that we make her take off or cover her cross necklace, as are the rules. She claims we're being hypocrites, to which I told her she's lucky to be in my life at all. Still, some of our friends have told us we're taking it too far and using our trauma as an outlet for revenge. I think when religion has caused such a traumatic role in both of your guys' lives, you can't be the jerk for wanting a no-religion space. I think I'd like to see something a little bit more lax, as in like anybody who comes over can't have outward displays. I just think it's a bit much, like if they wanted to silently pray to themselves before they had a meal if they were over, I think it's a little much to say, no, you can't do that. And especially like covering up the cross necklace, I think that's a bit much. But I understand if like just seeing that is enough to be traumatic. Our next story is, would I be the jerk if I spend my children's inheritance? Not looking for financial advice, only moral judgment. I have 3 children, Jason, 25-year-old male, Monica, 30-year-old female, and Veronica, 32-year-old female. I've always had a good relationship with my children, a bit distant after my wife's gone, but in general, we have a nice relationship. I received a hefty inheritance from my parents, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. This inheritance is not only a product of my parents' work, but money that's been in my family for decades. So it is expected of me to try and save as much of the inheritance for my children and so on. It's important to mention that in my culture, children are supposed to take care of their parents in their old age. Both my mom and dad suffered from diseases that required 24/7 care by the end of their life. These diseases run in the family, so most likely I'll suffer from one of them too. A few months ago, I made an offhand comment about going to the doctor for my annual revisit since my health has not been so great. I said, "Has anyone talked about who I'll live with when I'm old and wrinkly?" It was a joking comment. I'm not actually planning to live with any of my children yet. I guess this comment didn't sit right with any of my children because they told me about 2 months ago that they've decided they will not be taking care of me when I'm old. They told me that they have to first look out for their family, the cost of living is rising, etc., etc. It was very hurtful to hear them say that. Since then, I've made the decision to start to plan for my old age. I've moved a lot of funds of the inheritance to my savings account and plan to go on trips that I've always wanted to go on while I'm still a bit young and healthy. I plan to pay for this with the inheritance. I mentioned I'm going to Mexico in a few weeks to Monica, who asked me how I'm going to pay for the trip. I then told her I'm planning to use the inheritance from now on to pay for trips, accommodations, food, etc. She then called me selfish and accused me of trying to punish them for not following tradition. After that, Monica called her siblings, which in turn called me to tell me that if I start to use the inheritance to live a lavish life, then I'm robbing them of the money that their grandparents promised them. They're all very mad at me and refuse to talk to me to get to an agreement. See, as much as the grandparents may have promised them the money, they promised OP that money first, and it goes through OP, and if OP was mistreated or not very well respected, they have every right to go enjoy Mexico. In fact, regardless, I think they have every right to go enjoy Mexico. Our next story is, am I the jerk for being mad at my fiance because he told me he wouldn't add my name to the house after we get married? My fiance, 28-year-old male, and I, 26-year-old female, started dating 3 years ago. And I can't wait to be with him for the rest of my life, but I think I might have messed up. We got engaged 3 months ago and are planning on getting married in November, and last night we were discussing some things about the wedding, and the topic of our financial plan for once we're married, which is where the argument started, because I asked him when I would be added onto the deed for the house. Background: when my fiance was 23, his uncle died and left him a huge inheritance, which basically set him up for life, especially since he doesn't like super flashy things and only really spends money on his hobbies. And for the first 2 years after, he struggled to date because he was always worried the girl he was dating was using him. I moved in with fiance a year into our relationship, and he has never charged me for any bills and only expects me to pay for any luxury items I want. 9 months ago, me and my fiance had a discussion in which he asked me if I wanted to stop working because I worked as a teacher, and he could tell that my work wasn't making me happy, which he was right. We came to the agreement that I would stop working, and some ground rules. The ground rules include that he would give me allowance every month, and that he expected me to not just sit at home all day on my phone because he wants me to find hobbies and passions, because we both don't want children. I was totally on board with the rules, and quitting really helped my mental health. So when I brought up having my name added to the house deed, he got really quiet. He told me he didn't feel comfortable adding my name to the deed as the house had been fully paid off by him before we'd even met, and he felt that he's the one responsible for all the payments. This made me upset because I thought he was trying to say that I was using him and we're getting married, so I thought the house would become ours. He told me that things will become ours, but this was the first house he ever bought, and that he wanted to keep something for himself. He told me that if we decide to change houses or have one built, which we've discussed before, that we would have both of our names put on the deed. This made me more upset because if he's willing to do it on the possible next house, why can't he do it for our current house? We got into an argument and I left to go to my sister's apartment and texted my friend about the situation. And she told me I was being a jerk and overreacting, but I don't see it that way, and I think he should be willing to put my name on the deed. Am I overreacting and throwing away a good relationship, or is he being a jerk by not seeing my side? 100% I think OP is being the jerk here. They have to understand, marriage or not, this guy is paying for everything. I mean, God forbid this relationship doesn't last after just a year or two, you never know. And he might end up having to already split that house. I would say in this situation, it sounds pretty great. Be happy with the free ride and try not to make a bunch of waves about it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for closing the front door on my aunt because she wanted us to babysit again? My 16-year-old female aunt, 34-year-old female, has recently been dropping her child off at our house for no reason without notifying us. And I'm talking about leaving him here at all times when she's busy or when she has a date with her husband, 36-year-old male, who barely helps. Sometimes this surprise babysitting prevents my mom from being able to pick me up from school, causing me to have to walk home more often even when it's raining. I've become very annoyed with this, and it's starting to become repetitive, and I've told my aunt to quit multiple times, but she brushes it off because we're family and I should be there for her. Now, I wouldn't mind if she was paying us or even a little heads up would have her on thin ice, but dropping her son off almost every day of the week with no kind of pay or appreciation isn't cool. This morning, my aunt, of course, comes over to drop off her son and my mom's not home. I was still sleepy, so when I woke up to the doorbell ringing multiple times, I was still a bit grumpy. I went downstairs to see my aunt with her child. I really couldn't take it anymore, and I slammed the door and went upstairs to finish sleeping. After this, all heck broke loose, and my mom, 35-year-old female, grandma, 57-year-old female, aunt, 23-year-old female, and uncle, my other aunt's husband, had all gotten angry at me and said what I did was rude. And my first aunt called this morning and said I was the jerk. When I asked my 23-year-old aunt, she said my aunt was the jerk, but I should have just opened the door for her to resolve the conflict. Am I the jerk? 100% not the jerk. OP and their parents are not a 24/7 babysitter, especially for free and especially when they've got their lives and things they gotta take care of too. Hopefully this sends a message to them that they need to quit this or slow down on it, or, maybe give heads up. This next story is, am I the jerk for being pissed at my future mother-in-law? So my fiance and I have a big wedding plan in 2026 for money reasons, etc. However, he turns 26 in a month and goes off his parents' health insurance, while I have great health insurance through my work. We plan to do just a quick formality courthouse wedding in a week and are trying to treat it as much as a business deal as possible to not ruin what we consider to be our true wedding day in 2026. We needed 2 witnesses, so I asked my mom and he asked his, but told them both they were 100% absolutely not allowed to tell anyone we didn't want anyone knowing. And they said okay, since we figured this would be a lot to them to have them being there. Now, tonight I go to a party with his family, and I show up to find that his mother, my future mother-in-law, has told everyone in the family. And later throughout the night, we even get phone calls from family out of town who are asking about the courthouse wedding. And I blew up. I am beyond mad and feel like she 100% betrayed my trust on something that meant a great deal to me. She thinks it's okay since she was just so excited to finally have me as a daughter-in-law. Am I the jerk for still being pissed, or should I just suck it up and forgive her? Definitely not the jerk here. You asked her to do this in confidence and they went and blabbed about it. The one good thing about this situation is now you know never to tell her anything in confidence. Our next story is, am I the jerk for leaving my fiance's birthday after my stepdaughter's prank? So I recently got engaged to my fiance Michael. We don't live together, but we agreed to move together soon. He has a 16-year-old daughter. I gotta be honest, she seems quite stubborn and her own dad struggles to get her to listen. I'm not close with her, which is something I know I need to work on, and I do my best. However, her pranks make it difficult for me to maintain a good relationship with her. She loves to prank, and her prank can be a lot sometimes, though there's sometimes humor there. I tried to laugh it off every time she'd prank me, but it's gotten too much lately. My final straw was on her dad's birthday. I came to spend the day and have celebratory dinner. My future in-laws and relatives came as well. All went well until dinner. We were about to have dinner, and once we walked into the dining table, I was stunned to see my underwear hanging on a hanger in the corner. My stepdaughter looked at me, smiled, and said, "Oh, you forgot these last time you visited, and I didn't want you to forget them again, so I hung them here." I was absolutely astonished, speechless even. Michael was shocked, and my in-laws and other guests, including Michael's friends, were staring at me in awkward silence. I felt so humiliated, especially when some of the men laughed. Next thing I knew, I yelled at her and was grabbing my stuff about to leave, and Michael and his daughter telling me to calm down, it was just a prank. I left immediately and turned my phone off. Michael left many texts and voice messages calling me hypersensitive and claiming I ruined his birthday by walking out over a prank. We argued later, and he said his daughter is a teenager and it's what they do, so my reaction was over the top and ruined the birthday for him and his family. I haven't spoken to him in days, and he's expecting I visit to apologize for walking out, and also for yelling at his daughter. Am I the jerk? Did I overreact? No, nobody deserves to be humiliated like that, prank or not. I definitely hope for OP's sake that if they continue with this relationship, that they can find a way to make peace. Our next story is, am I the jerk for being angry with my fiance for throwing out food I bought? I, 28-year-old male, and my fiance, 29-year-old female, have been engaged for a year. She got weight loss surgery in March and has been on a strict liquid diet. She asked if I would go on a liquid diet as well, and I told her that I would do it for a few weeks. I got to my goal weight and started to slowly ease back into eating solid foods. She found out and was not happy that I was eating solid foods again. We fought a few times about the food, and she would get defensive that she doesn't want the food in the house that she can't eat. We work different shifts, and I normally am eating dinner when she's at work. My brother came into town last week, and I picked up a nice meal that I was going to make for him when he came over. I got home from work and see all the food that I'd purchased in the trash. I called her and asked her why she threw out the food I purchased. She went on to say that my brother can enjoy all the protein shakes and juices that he wants. It turned into a huge argument, and she's trying to twist it into that it's all my fault. My brother and I ended up going out and had a good time. She thinks I'm the jerk for purchasing the food and not being supportive of her new diet. So, am I the jerk for being angry that my fiance threw out food I bought? So, while I do think that it helps in a household to have everybody kind of equally subscribe to a like-minded diet if the focus is losing weight, that doesn't mean you have to. The problem here is she just doesn't have enough control here, and instead of instituting that control, she'd rather throw all of that perfectly good food out. That's just sad to see. Support or not though, who wants to go on a strict liquid diet? I just think that's a bit much to expect of somebody. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not saying anything about a couple's baby while petting their dog? Yesterday, when I, 24-year-old female, went for a morning jog in the park, I saw a couple walking one of the most adorable puppies I've ever seen in my life. The puppy locked eyes with me, and that was it. Wagging her tail, tongue out, smiling, trying to pull the husband in my direction. I paused my jog and ran over to ask if I could say hello, and they said of course. The puppy wouldn't have allowed me not to. I love dogs, so I was in heaven. I spent several minutes on the ground with her, getting all kinds of love and affection, and asking her owners her name, how old, etc. She also happened to be the same breed as the dog I grew up with who passed away a few weeks ago, a golden retriever who was my best friend, so this was especially comforting for me. A few minutes into talking, to clarify, about 2 minutes, and I was probably with them for about 4 total, 2 with the dog, 2 with the wife being mad, and the husband getting her to leave, I noticed the wife starting to look irritated. At first, I figured I might have overstayed my welcome, so I decided to back off. I got up and said something like, "I'll let you get back to your walk now, but thank you so much, that was the highlight of my day." As the husband was saying goodbye to me, the wife interrupts him and goes, "Really?" I was pretty confused, so I asked her if something was wrong. See, the couple also had a baby with them, a little girl sleeping in a stroller. I'm bad with ages, but if I had to guess, she was probably around a month-ish old. The wife said I was beyond rude for spending all this time cooing over the darn dog, but not saying anything about her newborn. I have absolutely nothing against babies or children in the slightest, including this woman's daughter. I see them as other human beings just like me, but I won't lie, babies and kids have never elicited the same instant warm feelings that dogs and all animals do for me. This is to say, I've never really been the type to coo at babies. I don't hate or dislike them at all. I just regard them in the same way I regard all strangers regardless of age. Anyway, before I could get a word in, the husband began ushering her away and told me to have a good day, though I could still hear her muttering things about me under her breath as they left. I didn't mean to be rude, but I'm wondering now if I actually was. Am I the jerk? 100% not the jerk. You didn't have to say anything about that baby. And honestly, personally, I kind of agree with OP. I feel like I'm kind of the same way. I don't know what it is, but when I see a cute puppy, I definitely have a real reaction. And for whatever reason, babies and children don't elicit the same taken aback, adorable type reaction. This next story is, am I the jerk for not inviting my Hindu friend to my birthday dinner? I, 22-year-old female, hosted a dinner for my birthday last weekend. My favorite food in the entire world is steak. I love it. I booked in a reservation at this new Wagyu Korean barbecue place for my dinner. This place is new and the beef is top-notch quality, so it's hard to get a reservation unless you book early. One of my best friends, 22-year-old female, is Hindu and doesn't eat beef or pork. This Korean barbecue place literally only serves beef and pork. The only things on the menu that she would be able to eat are the sides like rice, corn, kimchi, etc. I didn't invite her to the dinner, and instead we went out for Indian food the day before my birthday. When she found out that she wasn't invited the day after my birthday, she got upset. I sent her a long paragraph to say that I was sorry and that the only reason she wasn't invited was because she wouldn't be able to eat anything, hence why I went out with her privately the day before. She told me I should have just picked another restaurant. I think it's a bit entitled of her to want me to change my plans for her. I've wanted to go to this new Korean barbecue place for months. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk, but I do think they should have let them know ahead of time. It's a bit weird for them to have to find out that you did go out without them even being invited on your birthday. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not telling my daughter I'm proud of her, but being proud of my son? My, female 48, children Leah, 26-year-old female, and Kevin, male 21, are complete opposites. Kevin's a great student and a great athlete, has goals and works hard for them. Leah is the kind to have big goals too, but gives up very easily. Both of our children have had the same opportunities growing up, and neither has had to help or work more than the other did. Leah's tried many activities during her life. The problem is that if she's not excellent at it right away, then she gets frustrated and gives up. This is a pattern in her life. Kevin, on the other hand, has always been into sports. He played football through school, and he also plays baseball, basketball, and soccer. He's also better at school than she is. I think part of that is because he has to keep up his grades if he wants to continue in the school team. Leah didn't have a reason to have great grades, so although she never failed a class either, her grades have always been lower than Kevin's. After graduating, Leah wasn't interested in pursuing further education. Still, as it would make my husband and I happy that she would at least try it, she did. She wasn't able to finish her second semester because she didn't like it. She got into a job after that, which is fine if she liked that. She and her boyfriend, they'd been together since high school, got engaged that same year too, and Leah told us she wanted to be a mom. She felt like that was her call. She was very young, but I was too when I had her, so it's fine. She got pregnant, but she and the guy broke off. She couldn't take care of her baby, so my husband and I are raising our grandson. Now she's 26, and the truth is, she hasn't fulfilled any of her wishes or goals. She doesn't have a career, is not married, and is not a mother. She does nothing of the care and doesn't live with us. Kevin won a scholarship because he's an athlete. Now he's studying at a prestigious university and is part of his college's football team too. He's fulfilling his dreams because he's working on them. Last week was Kevin's birthday. Our baby turned 21, so my husband and I planned a small party for him. We were all having a good time. Kevin was telling us about how good his grades were this last semester. I told him we were very proud of him for working so hard. Leah told me I'd never told her that I was proud of her. I told her this wasn't the moment to talk about that because this party was for her brother, and she dropped it. However, she brought it up again the next day at my house. She asked me why I never told her I'm proud of her. So I told her that I don't feel like she's done something to be proud of. I'm proud that she's a nice girl and very respectful, but she still hasn't done something to fulfill her dreams and make us proud. She went off on me and accused me of telling her she's a failure, even though I didn't do that. She was very angry and left. My husband agrees with me, but she's angry. Am I the jerk? There's definitely things I think both sides are kind of at fault for. I don't know if growing up if OP and their partner were the best of parents to her or gave her enough tools to figure out how to succeed. Considering on the symptoms OP even described, it sounds very much like some kind of neurodivergent type behavior. Maybe they needed some help, maybe they still do. But it doesn't also make a lot of what she did right either. What do you guys think? Who's the jerk here? Is everybody, maybe except Kevin, the jerk? I'd like to know what you guys think. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.